The Raiders! Oh, God. Regardless of what you thought about the hiring of Jon Gruden to be the next head coach of the Oakland Raiders and the 100 million reasons he was given to love coaching again, even if you thought this was going to potentially be a train wreck, I don't know that anybody could have envisioned it was this much of a train wreck. Like, you got an early indication, like, in that offseason, shortly after being hired, when he cuts former Pro Bowl putter Marquette King. And maybe that doesn't look like the worst decision in the world in retrospect, but then you combine that with things such as trading a third-round pick for Martavis Bryant, who's staring down another indefinite drug-related suspension. Doesn't seem like a good idea. Seemingly aiming to be the oldest team in the freaking league in one offseason. The only redeeming quality for Jon Gruden in this whole campaign, his first year back at the helm of the Oakland Raiders, is that he should, in theory, get the Executive of the Year award for the NFL because he helped take two teams to another level in the Bears with the Khalil Mack deal and the Cowboys with the Amari Cooper deal. Really. The Bears went to a whole different level because of Khalil Mack being there all year. The Cowboys went to a different level with the Amari Cooper trade, at least for that half of that one season that Cooper was there. Now, sure, you can tout draft picks that they got and the fact they have 3 first-round picks, including their own, which is number 4 overall. But think about it this way. Part of the reason they weren't really wanting to deal with some other teams was they thought the Bears weren't going to be picking in the lower half of the draft. They thought they were going to have a top 10, top 15, top 20 pick, which kind of speaks to the lack of modern football intelligence of Jon Gruden, not getting an accurate read of the room. Oopsie daisies. Furthermore, picks are great, but if you don't know what the F you're doing with those picks, it doesn't matter, period. And like when you look at Jon Gruden and what this team did, like offensively, this is supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, and he's supposed to have this great offensive mind. You know, you look at Derek Carr. You're paying him top 5 in the league money at his position. Sure, he throws for 4,000 yards, but 19 touchdowns, 17 total turnovers. He got sacked 51 times. So the rookies at offensive tackle were getting shredded. Derek Carr was getting shredded. He was turning the ball over. And even when he had a stretch of a few games where he didn't throw any picks, that was only because the balls he threw right at defenders were getting dropped. Hence why they're playing on the defensive side of the ball. You had 9 games of scoring under 20 points. You know, the thing is, like, sure, you had 10 of those in 2017, but that was Jack Del Rio, defensive guy, a whole different mindset. It really didn't change. You didn't really move the needle there. You were still stagnant and mediocre to bad on offense, and you were shitty still on defense. Like, it didn't make any sense. You know, 25th in rushing yards, 22nd in total yards a game. That was a bad offense. And you would think of anything else, if the Raiders' defense was going to be bad, at least because it's Jon Gruden, they were allegedly supposed to be good offensively, and they most certainly were not. Now you look at them defensively. Think about it this way. What did Khalil Mack have this year? 12.5 sacks, 12 sacks, whatever the fuck it was. The Raiders as a team had 13 total sacks. And it was funny and ironic how many times during the course of the year that Jon Gruden was lamenting the lack of an Oakland Raiders pass rush when he traded away the one guy that could consistently get to the damn quarterback. To where now you'll probably spend one, if not both of those first-round picks acquired from the Chicago Bears over the next 2 drafts to find your guy that can rush the passer like Khalil Mack. Just nuts. Just nuts. 8 games of 30 or more points allowed. 9 of their 12 losses were by 14-plus points when they only had 4 of those losses in 2017. So sure, there were moments where the Raiders' even losses were competitive, but they had far more games that they were getting blown out going away. 30th against the run, 26th in total yards allowed. This was just a bad team in all facets. Like, it's ridiculous. Sure, they weren't great last year, and maybe Del Rio needed to be fired, but they got even worse this year. And you're paying Derek Carr a shit ton of money. It just, like, you think about it, and especially if you're a Raiders fan, you know, those that are going to talk shit about, oh, you know, at least you could say that the Bears didn't make it, so what that difference does it make? The Bears have a future. The Raiders have none! None! And what the hell makes you think that Jon Gruden knows what the hell he's doing? After one season, I ask you, What the fuck makes you think he knows what he's doing? And we're in this weird world where they go out and hire a general manager and it's Mike Mayock. So great, now every fuckstick on Twitter is going to think they can be an NFL GM in the future. Oh, Christ almighty. But now you got Gruden being part of the process to hire the guy that he's supposed to be reporting to, which means he's kind of hiring his own boss, which makes him the boss, which is exactly how the hell this is not supposed to work. It just shouldn't work that way. So you could say, well, Mayock's there. He knows what he's doing. And now I've said this before, like in terms of me doing scouting reports and mock drafts and making predictions. Sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. And at least unlike people that randomly tweet and comment, like I'll have more people notice when I'm wrong. They'll ignore sometimes when I'm right and focus on the when I'm wrong. But there is a part of it sometimes that can influence me positively or negatively in a lot of cases in terms of my true opinions, sometimes thinking about how people are going to react or could this potentially bite me in the ass instead of just making a truly organic decision. Now you take that to a whole different hundreds of levels higher. Mayock can't just sit there and be the TV analyst. He can't just sit there and put together rankings in a big board and so forth. Now it's for keeps. Now it's for real. Now it's for his job. It's going to matter. It's not just something that's going to disappear into the ether of NFL Draft Twitter and NFL Draft TV for years and years down the road. You're going to come back to this and say 3, 4, 5 years down the road, Mike Mayock, when it mattered, when he actually had to make the decisions when they counted, either was really good at it or he was shitty at it. And there's not going to be any ability to hide or pretend like it didn't happen because we're going to truly know what he's about. And that should concern Raiders fans at least a little bit because now that he's the lead dog, the perspective has changed, and we're going to see how that change is. And you look at like the 2018 draft, assuming that Jon Gruden's going to be heavily involved in the drafting, that shouldn't give you any reason for great optimism. Your first-round pick, Colton Miller, sucked dick. P.J. Hall was a massive reach in round 2. I mean, yeah, Maurice Hurst was very good as a rookie. Marcel Aitman, his 7th-round pick, got some action late. But your day 3 picks were much more notable than your first 2 picks. That's not good. And especially when you look at round 1, you pass on guys like Tremaine Edmonds, Derwin James, Jair Alexander, Leighton Vander Esch. These are all guys that are better than Colton Miller. And the guy that really drafted him, it wasn't Reggie McKenzie, it was Jon Gruden. He was calling the shots. He's the guy that you're going to have involved in another draft process. So again, when I talk about the fact that it doesn't matter how many picks you have, if you don't know what the hell you're doing with them, see Jon Gruden. And even when you look at Reggie McKenzie, yeah, he was fired, and he frankly ended up deserving to be fired too. He had to at least be, you would think, somewhat okay with the Gruden hiring, even though I'm sure that was a Mark Davis decision alone, try to rectify his daddy's alleged previous wrong. But you look at this team, to my estimation, after the trades of Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, no first-round picks from before 2016 are still on this roster. In part, yes, because they traded 2 of them away, but that just speaks to, they have drafted well, but even Cooper wasn't that great for them. He had a couple of nice seasons and a couple of disappointments. Khalil Mack was obviously a stud. Carl Joseph, it felt like Jon Gruden was intentionally trying to troll him and fuck him up. But you've now gotten to the point DJ Hayden in 2013 was a bust. I mean, you go back and back and back. No first-round picks from before 2016 still on this roster. That's not good. And you can sit there and say, well, they got like $71 million in cap space. They got 3 first-round picks this year, 2 in 2020. It should be an appealing situation. Why? And frankly, you have to look at this point, some of these players that might go to the Raiders because they can get the most money. You really have to question, are those the right type of players that you would want to build a winner around? Just saying. In terms of their needs this offseason, obviously, number 1, clearly is a head coach that knows what the fuck he's doing. But they're not going to get that. They're stuck with Jon Gruden for many, many years to come. The other big team need to me is trade Derek Carr. Why are you going to pay him top 5 money when you're clearly in a rebuilding mode? You need to leverage him for whatever you can. Maybe it's a second or a third round pick, a second this year, maybe a second or third next year. Maybe that second or third is conditional depending on Derek Carr's performance. And get a team like Jacksonville or somebody like that to buy in on him and clear that money off of your damn books. It makes no sense to be paying a guy $25+ million to be mediocre on a shitty-ass team. That's stupid. That's stupid. In order for this rebuild to be complete, you must find a different quarterback. I'm sorry, it's true. Carr's not that dude. He's not going to be that dude for them. So it's time to find somebody else. In terms of their other needs, I think obviously you got to go to the defensive side of the ball, and you start with the right defensive end and then a left defensive end. They get shit for pass rush. They traded away their one guy that could actually get to the opposing quarterback. So now they got to find that pass rush somewhere. So you know at some point in time they're going to have to invest multiple picks in that defensive line. Frankly, all over that front. They need guys that can get after the quarterback, period. Then you look at their linebacking core. What the hell do they have in their linebacking core? I mean, really, they need some speed and some playmakers on the second level of their defense. Then I think about them offensively. You know, I still feel like drafting a young quarterback might very well be need number one because you need to stop being stupid about the Derek Carr thing. It's too much money to pay a guy in a rebuilding situation. But on top of that, even if you do decide to keep Derek Carr, you can't just sit there and be trotting out a bunch of vets at the wide receiver position and the running back position forever and think that that's going to get it done for you in today's NFL. It just doesn't. You can't sit there and go in with Marshawn Lynch and Doug Martin and think that's going to be okay, because it's not. They must find a difference maker at the running back position. They must find at least one difference maker at the wide receiver position. 2018 was a disappointment for the Oakland Raiders. It was a train wreck, a dumpster fire, a clusterfuck of Jon Gruden's stupidity. It's true, Raiders fans, and you know it, and that's okay. It's not your fault. It is okay to admit that your team sucks dick and they're run by a couple of morons. That's fine. You can also hold on to the belief that Mike Mayock could come in and help right the ship and make sure that the picks are being spent well, and you guys might be relevant here in 2 years or so. That also could happen. It also could be an even greater dumpster fire. That also could happen. But right now, if you're a Raiders fan, I wouldn't be sitting there talking shit about the first-round picks that you have, because frankly, based off of last year and previous year's evidence, what the fuck difference is that going to make?